Mike Bond of MMA Junkie and USA Today Sports here at UFC Fight Night 77 Ultimate Media Day with UFC Bantamweight Anthony Birchak. Anthony, huge fight coming up for you here. How excited were you when they gave you Thomas Almeida? There's a lot of hype around this guy right now.
I thought they would have turned me around a little faster after Joe Soto. I stayed ready, stayed in camp. And then once we were kind of throwing names out like, hey man, I want to get in there. I asked for Thomas. This is something that I've wanted. I've been watching him since he was on Access TV. I was on Access TV. We've been following each other's career, and I'm not here to fight bums, man. I'm here to fight the best in the world, and Thomas is definitely that.
Yeah, and do you feel like at all, maybe not slighted so far in your UFC career, but do you feel like this is the opportunity you've kind of really been waiting for? You obviously got a big fight with Joe Soto last time, but the whole UFC 177 thing, and you didn't get a fight on that card. Was it, frustrating at all, and now to come to this point where, it's such a big fight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel slighted by any means. It's... like I said, I've been able to ask for both opponents. I told him, I said, let's do this Joe Soto thing. We could have fought so many times in the regional scene. We're both West Coast fighters. It should have taken place in the UFC as it did, and I think the way everything has come to pass, it has been pretty fortunate on my end.
Yeah, and what did that Joe Soto win do for your career, really? Because it seemed, even though he lost to TJ, it seemed like, he made it to the 5th round, 1 day's notice. People gave him a lot of respect and a lot of credit for just how well he did in that fight. And then you came in and obviously took him out pretty quickly. So what did that do for you? Well,
going into that fight, there was so much hate on Twitter, like, oh, Joe Soto's going to, KTFO you and you're going to get smoked and this and that. After I made the statement that I did, this fight has had so much more support behind me and really rallying behind me from fans from all over the world, I know MMA math doesn't add up, but Joe Soto did look tremendous against TJ. He gave him 2 black eyes. So for me to step in New Orleans and do what I did in the fashion that I did it, I believe says I'm pretty good myself.
Absolutely, and when you approach a fight like this, against an undefeated opponent, a lot of hype around him, how do you study, his game when there's not losses to really pick apart? I know every fighter has tendencies and there's things you can still look at, but he hasn't suffered that, decisive defeat, anything like that. So how do you approach a guy like this?
So to answer that, without having to study the losses and seeing where people capitalized on, I still look at the ones that he's been hurt in. So Tim Gorman did a great job of hitting him with a jab and a hook that nearly shut his eye. Brad Pickett dropped him several times and had him hurt. I think looking at those fights, I see where those guys came up short. They hurt him, but they didn't keep him hurt, or they hurt him and they got a little overzealous and tried finishing too fast rather than picking the right shots. And I think with Gorman, it's probably the most accurate representation of how this fight's going to go. Tim ran out of gas. I have gas for days. Thomas, was getting taken down and smothered, and like I said, he got stuck with a jab a couple times from a non-striker. I think I'm a lot more proficient of a striker than Tim Gorman, and definitely a hell of a better wrestler.
Yeah, and is that something you see in Thomas's game as well? I think he gets, just statistically speaking, he gets hit like double the UFC average per fight, even though he's winning. Is that something maybe you see as a flaw? His defense, even though he goes in there, he wins, every fight so far, but he's shown, some lack of defensive tactics.
Yeah, and that's definitely the hole in his game. He is great coming forward and not so good going backwards. That's just one of the shootbox styles, and that's my style. Constant wrestler pressure coming forward. I'm now learning how to, use retreat attacks and stuff like that. I've always read a good fighter can knock you out coming forward, a great fighter can knock you out going backwards. I've kind of taken that into my approach and really starting to pick my shots and learn from world-class strikers, guys in lion fights, guys in glory. I'm starting to be able to understand the striking game coupled with my wrestling game. I think is going to make for an unstoppable fighter in the near future.
Yeah, and you mentioned the wrestling game. I heard you say in another interview training a lot with Henry Cejudo, who I've talked to plenty of times in the past, but what does that do for just, I know he's a very mentally strong fighter as well. What does that do for your physical skills and your mental skills, being so close to someone like that?
I've known Henry since we were kids. So to see him grow up and do what he's done so far has been definitely inspirational. To now be able to train with him in the UFC and call him a co-worker or a peer, that blows my mind. A peer, Henry Cejudo. The confidence level is just there. If Henry's not stopping my takedowns, I doubt Thomas can. Frankie Saenz is another tremendous wrestler that I've been working with. Roman Salazar, a former opponent of mine, tremendous Arizona wrestler as well. you know, my wrestling game's been on point, and the transitions is where this fight's going to take place, and the winner of the transitions is who's going to come out victorious in this fight.
Yeah, definitely. And just one last thing on Henry. I mean, he's got a big fight coming up too. I'm sure you have confidence that he wins that. And do you think, you know, he's got a championship belt around his waist within the next year or so?
Oh, absolutely, man. I think he's still got a lot of room to grow, but beating somebody like Formiga, who's great on the ground, great in transition, I think Henry's just, he's so strong for that size, and the fact that his pressure is just unrelenting just breaks people, and that's what we're here to do. Wrestler pressure breaks people, and that's what's going to happen, man. My fight, his fight, you know, we're coming out victorious, and Arizona boys are going up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and you know, just back to yourself a little bit. What do you think a win here does for you? Obviously, you're very confident that's how it's going to play out. It seems, you know, the bantamweight division kind of wide open behind the upcoming title fight between Dominic Cruz, TJ Dillashaw. Do you think, you know, this win and maybe one more, or how far do you think you are from that title shot?
You know, I don't ever count on anything. You know, this career and this industry so up and down and up and down. You know, we know Dominic gets hurt all the time. I would love to throw my name in the hat if that ever happened, you know, after this fight. But I'm not looking past Thomas at all. I'm focused 1,000% on Thomas Almeida and dispatching of him first. So we'll talk later in the evening on Saturday, early Sunday morning about what's next for me.